Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about the cost of living in terms of my rent, electricity, water, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about the cost of transportation here in Athens. I hope you all enjoyed the food one. I got a lot of comments on the food one. Some people were like, oh, you could find things cheaper here and you could do this, but the one thing that I will say is that I am a person that loves convenience. It's part of the reason I picked this apartment is because there are 2 grocery stores on my street. I also live on Leviticus Hill, so that means if I go anywhere outside of like a couple of blocks, I have to hike back up the hill with my groceries. So I'm probably not gonna like go exploring a lot for different grocery stores. I do know other grocery stores in the area and I will sometimes go to those, but only if I need like 1 or 2 things that I know that the other stores don't have. Anyway, so let's get into this about the cost of living in my neighborhood, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about in other neighborhoods rent as well. If you are not subscribed, because I know a lot of you are watching that are not, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button, and if you want to get notified when I have a new video, hit the bell, and then you'll get an email when the new video comes out. Alright, let's get to it. I live in a neighborhood called Kolonaki, and many Greeks will tell you it's an upscale neighborhood of Athens, and it is. Like, there are like high-end shops here, and there are nice restaurants, and most of the sidewalks are pretty even, which if you've been to Athens, you know that isn't always the case. I live in the basement of a building, so that brings the rent down a little bit more than it would be if I lived, like, say, on an upper floor. I pay 500 euros a month. That does not include anything. And my apartment is about 50, I think the official lease says 54 square meters, but I think, like, if in the ad it said 55, I don't know, I'm not gonna get out and measure. So that's about 560, I believe, square feet, which is a little bit smaller than like the average 1-bedroom apartment in the US. I looked it up. The average 1-bedroom apartment is like 789 feet to 800 square feet in the US, depending on where you are. And of course, rent across the United States varies. I've seen 1-bedrooms for about $500 in like really states like Kansas. And then of course in New York City, you can be paying like $3,500 for an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment. And sometimes you don't even get a 1-bedroom, it's just a studio. I would say in Texas, before I left, I had kind of looked thinking, well, do I really want to move to Greece? And an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment in my town would be about $1,100. Now, I live in a suburb of Dallas, not in Dallas. In Dallas, I probably would have to pay a few $100s more for a 1-bedroom apartment. And now, the 1-bedroom apartment would be bigger than this, and it wouldn't probably be in the basement because those don't really exist in the US. So, with that being said, for the neighborhood I'm in, it's a good price, and the apartment hasn't completely been renovated. So, it's really high-end in the sense that like all the finishes are really nice, and it's been redone. I think it was redone in like 2018 or 2017. I think there was only 1 tenant in here before me, and it was a couple, and I swear they never used the kitchen. So, and the other thing about my apartment is it was fully furnished, and I don't mean like, oh, it had like a bed and a couch. It has plates, utensils, sheets, towels, all that. And that was really great for me because I really am not sure yet still, as of this moment in time, whether or not my residence permit is going to be approved, because I don't really want to buy a ton of furniture and then have to leave when my visa expires. So I don't know if that really affects the price too much here in Greece, because I have seen unfurnished apartments for the same price. I don't know. I don't know enough about Greek real estate to know what like is normal and what isn't. It actually seems that furnished is more common than unfurnished. And I did see some apartments that were cheaper that were unfurnished, but then I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to spend like 2,000 euros getting a bed, getting a couch, getting a desk, getting plates and cups and all those. Now I have bought things, but nothing that I wouldn't be bothered with selling to someone if I had to leave. Like I bought a rug and I bought an oven. And I've bought some like small like decorative things that again, like I would either sell it or, to be honest, I'm not that attached to things and I might just give it away. So anyway, I am going to go on now and show you on one of the sites for apartment rentals what you can get in different areas of Athens. And there are two main sites. One is xe.gr. Now that stands for something in Greek that I can't say. And then the other one is home, Greek home. I believe it's .com. And you'll see the same ad, so there really isn't any difference. The one thing that really kind of drove me nuts about trying to look for an apartment here, well, everywhere, is that there isn't a central database. In the US, there is a central database that realtors put things in called MLS, and all listings go in there. And usually when you rent out your apartment, you go to one real estate agent and you list your apartment with them, and then it goes into the system, and any realtor can then show the apartment. Well, it's not how it works here. Here, you can list your apartment with multiple agents, and whoever happens to rent it out gets the fee from the tenant. So, anyway, that part doesn't really matter. But it is a factor if you're considering moving here, because if you use a real estate agent, you're usually going to have to pay a real estate agent's fee. In my case, it was a month's rent, which was 500 euros. So that's 500 euros I'm never going to see again. But I found an apartment really quickly, so it was worth it in my mind. You also have to pay a deposit. In my case, it was just a month's rent. So that's pretty standard, I mean, across the world, I think. So that's not a big deal to me, and I know that I will get that money back because I'm not destroying the apartment. All right, so let's go and take a look at what you can get in Athens. I'm going to do a search in which is about the same size for every one bedroom, and I'm gonna do it all over Athens, and then I'm gonna come back and do it in my neighborhood of Kolonaki and kind of show you the difference between my neighborhood and some of the other neighborhoods sort of around the area. Maybe some of the ones that I was actually considering when I was looking for an apartment. Alright, so now I'm here on xe.gr. I'm not going to do all of the sites because we'd be here forever. I'm going to search in the center of Athens because this is where I live and where I did all my searching. I'm now going to change it to about the size of my apartment because I just want to kind of do it for comparison's sake. I know you can get a smaller apartment for cheaper, and that's totally doable. You can get like a studio. You can sometimes get one bedrooms for, in a smaller range, but then you're in a much smaller apartment. Okay, now I'm going to sort by price so that it goes up. The first couple of listings here that you see, these like 10 euros a night, they're by the night, they're not by the month, so we're going to ignore those. All right. So here's one. See, you can get a much cheaper apartment. It's in near Kypseli. It's got a little balcony. I don't know if you could put a table and chairs out there, but you could definitely open the window and stand out there. And I'm going to flip through. Oh, it has no kitchen. The tile in the bathroom is outdated, but it's usable. So you would have to somehow get the landlord to do something about the kitchen. And maybe if you went and talked to them, they are going to do something about it. So let's keep looking and see what else we can find. You can see over here on the right, we've got a much larger apartment for 250 euros, and it's 77 square meters. It's in Upper Kypseli, not bad. As you can see, you can still get apartments that are bigger than mine for less money. The only thing is these are further out from the center of, you could still walk, but you definitely have to get on public transportation, and some of these places like Kypseli, they don't have a metro stop. So you'd have to get on the bus or something. Okay, this apartment is not too far from my neighborhood. It's a little bit bigger. It's 280 euros. It looks like it's on the first floor. So you don't have like a true balcony. It's like a Juliet balcony, but you can open the windows. So that's nice. There is a metro station in this neighborhood, so I'm kind of surprised it's not more money. Oh, now I know why. The kitchen needs to be redone. So you'll find that the apartments that have been renovated, either in the kitchen or the bathroom, they are a little bit more expensive. And just because it needs to be updated doesn't mean that it's not functional. So let's see. The other thing you want to look for when you're looking for an apartment in Greece is whether or not you have central heating and what kind of heating it is, or if you can control your own heating. This apartment has central heating, which is natural gas. But what that means is the building controls when the heat comes on. So I was in an Airbnb earlier before I found this apartment, and the building only turned on the heat from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. every night. So when you got up in the morning to shower, it was freezing in the apartment. So, it's definitely something you can, more often than not though, it's going to be in a building in which the building controls the heat. There aren't a lot of the autonomous heatings. If you wanted to find one of those, you'd really have to search for them. Okay, so this apartment is in Theseo. I love Theseo. It's a little bit smaller than mine, but it's much cheaper. And this neighborhood is really nice. There are lots of cafes. It's near the Acropolis. It's near all the historic sites. It's actually really nice area to be in my opinion. Ooh, there's a washing machine. And the bathroom looks nice. And it's also in the basement, like mine. When they say semi-basement, it usually means like that there are windows. And that actually hasn't been a problem for me. I get plenty of light in this apartment. Let's see what else we can find. I don't like that there aren't pictures on some of these. Okay, here's one that's on the other side of the hill in in a neighborhood called Neapoli. A little bit smaller, but a little bit cheaper. It says it's elevated, which usually means it's not on the ground floor, but it's not the second floor. It's like this mezzanine level, I believe. Oh, there's a bathtub. That's kind of rare. That's one of my big wishes for the next apartment is that it has a bathtub. Tile's outdated, but who cares? There's a bathtub. And I'm pretty little, so that bathtub would probably fit me. The other thing I'm noticing is that there's no shower head, like where you like stand under it. Oh, there is a little balcony. This is actually nice. Like, yeah, it's elevated. Yeah, it's in one of these mezzanine level apartments. It's not like a first floor. I don't care about that. It kind of depends on the neighborhood because, in some neighborhoods it's probably not a good idea to be in the basement or the first floor because your apartment might get broken into. This is like what I've heard. So it's a risk. Let's see. Also has central heating, but it doesn't say what kind of heat, whether it's gas or boiler. If you have the choice, I would do gas. It's going to be cheaper than the boiler. Because then they have to bring in oil, and that's always expensive. Although not right now. So it's looks like it's been renovated. It's double frontage. That means that there's a balcony in the front and the back, and that's really nice. Okay, I've now sorted it to just Kolonaki, but the same size. So you can see here I'm looking at an apartment that's about a little bit smaller than mine, but it's 450 euros. It's on the first floor. And it looks like it does have a balcony and a decent kitchen and a bathroom. Looks like it gets nice light and, at least you have a balcony. The only thing that I did notice about the balcony is that the doors going out to the balcony are not aluminum framed, so you might have some heat loss. The other thing is it doesn't mention the heating, so you would have to ask them about it. The good thing is if you call or email them, you can probably find that out without having to go see the apartment, so that if you don't want to deal with like non-central heating, or if you don't want to deal with central heating, then you could just not look at the apartment. Okay, let's go see what else we have. in my neighborhood. And there's some more options in my price range comparatively. This one's also a basement for $70, and it's slightly bigger. Oh, the pictures are not, they're sideways. Sometimes they don't do a great job, but you still get an idea. It's got nice furnishings. It's obviously furnished. It seems nice. It seems like it's got decent lighting. Bathroom's not great, but it's kind of hard to tell too. Let's see what else we can find. I've looked at this one before. It's also a basement. It's about the same size as mine, and it is 480 euros. It looks like it's been recently renovated, but this apartment is not furnished. It does say elevated, but I think it's a basement based on the lighting. And the other thing I've noticed about this apartment is the layout's really weird. It does say it's double frontage, so it makes me wonder if there's some kind of like garden area. Let's see about the heating. It's central heat and it is natural gas, so that's nice. I mean, if you can't control your own heating, you can at least hopefully cover the cost. Oh, it does say the rent is negotiable. So it may be something where they might go down a little bit. I've never tried that, but you know, you could say, oh, I'll give you $450, or say I'll pay $480, but you pay the water bill. You know, it depends. I mean, considering how little the water bill is, I don't know if I'd even give that as an option. Let's see what else. See if anything else strikes my fancy. Maybe I'll move. Just kidding. I'm gonna go to the very top end page here and see what we can get. Oh, wow. 8,000 euros for 670 square meters. I mean, unless you had like a ton of people living with you, you probably don't need an apartment that's over 500 square meters. I mean, that's like huge. Obviously, some of these are whole buildings. Okay, let's maybe go back a little bit and see what else we can get. Okay, so still really expensive, 5,000 euros but they're much larger apartments. So, you know, if you had a family or something and you needed a lot of space, then you could definitely do it, but you're gonna have to have a lot of money for some of these apartments. Yeah. Anyway, so I hope that gives you an idea of what you can get in my neighborhood, and this was somewhat helpful in kind of seeing what you can get at different prices. So now let's talk about bills. I pay 25 euros a month for internet. I did not put in the internet, the landlord did, so I have no idea like what speed or whatever. I just pay it with the rent, which for me was good because I've heard that when you sign up for internet in Greece, it can take a couple of weeks for it to be installed. And I work from home, I don't have time for that. Electricity. Now this has varied a little bit because it was January when I moved in, so obviously it was really cold, and now it's not. And I live in the basement, so it's a little bit colder than it would be if I was living in a higher floor in the winter. And I've noticed that in the bedroom where I have wood floors, compared to the living room, it's a lot cooler out here because I have marble floors out here. Now, I did buy a rug in March, so hopefully next winter that will help a little bit. But my electric bill, I think for the first month was around, I think it was like 50 euros, 55 euros. And then the next month it was 44 euros, and this month it was 43 euros. So it's gone down a little bit because I'm not running the heat, and now I'm not really running anything because it even got up to 100 degrees, which is about 38 degrees Fahrenheit the other day, and I've only really turned on the fan, and I only do it for like 10 minutes just to cool down from like coming back outside. And so that's the benefit of being in the basement in the summer, is that it's probably a lot cooler down here than it would be on a higher floor. And then the other thing, I guess, is water. I got a water bill for the first time. Now, I've only been in here since January, but the bill was from like December, so I was kind of able to see what it was. So it was like mid-December through like mid-March. It was 17 euros, which is just insanely cheap to me. So like prorated, my landlord was like, oh, just pay 10. And I was like, okay, that's fine. all the bills come in Greek, so it's really hard for me to navigate, and like I've had to kind of ask friends, be like, hey, does this look right to you? Does it not look right to you? And the good thing is the person that I interact with who represents my landlord has been like super helpful and, you know, honest with me, I believe, so that's good. There are some building fees, like shared fees in my building, and I don't pay those. The landlord covers those. But I've seen the bill, and usually it's like 20 euros a month. Sometimes there's extra charges for other things, and I don't know what those are, because again, the bill is in Greek. So that includes like cleaning of the building. It includes the heat in the winter. We have central heating in the sense that we all share heat. Although we have some control over it, like in my apartment, I can turn it down if it's too hot, or turn it up if I'm cold, only to a certain point. But it is gas heat, it is not a boiler system, so it's a little bit cheaper than it would be because it's not running on electricity, so that's good. And I find that the heat is better with that. It's a lot more consistent and it's not noisy. It's also a bonus, because if you live in a building and with a boiler and you're in the basement, you're probably going to hear boiler noise. So that's another thing to look for when you're moving to Greece. So all in all, I would say I'm not good at math, so I pay 25 for internet, about €5, €5 a month for water, and about, let's say, 45 euros a month for electricity. So, and then of course, if you're paying the building fees, you know, you have to factor that in. But I spend less than 100 euros on bills, and that's pretty good. I mean. Okay, so I've talked about all the rent and the electricity. The one thing I haven't talked about that is probably pertinent to a lot of people is the cost of transportation. Now, the nice thing here in Athens is that you get one ticket and you can get on almost everything. This is called the Athena ticket. This is good on the bus, the trolley, the tram, and the metro, and I'm not sure about the electric train. I've never taken it, so I don't know. Okay, so you can see this little card, and this is the Athena ticket. Now, you can get a plastic card that you can either get personalized with like your photo and your name on it, or you can just get a refillable plastic card. There's no difference in cost in terms of like savings on the metro if you don't get one of those cards. I have looked into it, and it's quite, and there's just a lot involved in it, so I haven't done it yet because I don't take the metro that much, or even the bus that much. Part of the reason I live in this neighborhood is it's that I can walk everywhere. So maybe in the future I'll get one, but right now I'm happy just dealing with this. And these are supposedly good for a year, like you can refill them. The only thing is they get really gritty after a while, so you have to be really good about like putting them somewhere where they're not going to get all messed up. So I normally just get a new one when this runs out. So one ride on any public transportation is €1.40. And what I have discovered is if you're making a transfer, so I'm on the metro and then I want to get on the bus, usually if that's within a 90-minute period, that ticket is still good for that ride. So you're not actually having to pay twice. So that's really nice. If you buy a 24-hour ticket, meaning you can use it as much as you want for 24 hours, it's €4.50. Then and this is what I normally get, it's called a 10+1, it's $13.50. And what it is 10 rides plus a free one of one extra ride. So, and it works out to be €1.23 a ride. So it does save you some money, and then obviously you're not having to go refill this ticket every time you do it. Then if you're here and you're only in Athens for 3 days, you can get a 3-day like pass, and that's 22 euros. Now, to be honest with you, you would have to take the transportation a lot here in order to make that 22 euros worth your while. So if you're here for 3 days, get this and get the 10+1, because you probably won't take the transportation that much, because like most of the things that you're going to go see in those 3 days, you're going to be able to walk to. Unless you have mobility issues or, you know, some kind of health issue that you need to like take public transportation, then the 22 euros might be worth it. Okay, so the other thing that is probably important to some people that are watching this that don't live here is the getting to the airport, because you can take public transportation to the airport, and that is how I go to the airport, unless I have lots of suitcases, because it's just more affordable. The express bus is €6 one way. I don't think there's a discount for round trip. I didn't look that up. If you get on the metro to go to the airport, it's €10, and if you buy a round trip, it's €18. That sounds like a lot, but a taxi during the day, it's a flat rate, and as of May 2020, it is €38 plus any like tolls, and obviously if you're gonna tip them. So you could be looking at €45 to go to and from one way to the airport, whereas you could get a round trip on the metro at €18. Now, I will say this about taking the metro to the airport is that during tourist season, it can be a place where you might get pickpocketed if you have lots of things with you. They know the tourists take this train and they know who you are. It's pretty obvious because you have a giant suitcase and you don't look Greek and you don't look like you live here. So, you know, if you're uncomfortable with that, then if you're uncomfortable with that and you still want to save money, I recommend taking the bus. The bus is an express bus. It doesn't make a lot of stops, and I've never taken it into the center of the city, but I've taken it to Piraeus, to the port, to get on a ferry, and it's taken me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and a taxi is going to take you about 40 minutes. So you're not saving tons of time by taking a taxi. Now, I have been on the bus sometimes and there's been no air conditioning, so there's a trade-off. But you get to see a lot of Athens that you wouldn't see otherwise, so I enjoy that, but that's just me. But I highly recommend the bus. And they have spaces for your luggage on the bus. It's not like you have to sit there with your bag. They have like a luggage rack, and you can usually like put your bag right underneath there. So the other things are taxis, and I like taking the taxi here in Athens. It's pretty inexpensive. Speaking of taxis, they must be going by. So I was just going to go on and see what I've spent recently on taxis here in Athens. I use the Beat app because, depending on where you are, it can be hard to hail a taxi just because there aren't any like driving down your street. So it's a good option to get a taxi if you're not in an area where you don't see one. But I like it because it means I don't have to explain in English to the driver where I'm going, and also the fares seem to be a little bit more regulated because they do turn on the meter for this. They have to. And sometimes Greek taxi drivers don't like to turn on the meter. I'm not going to talk about that any further than that. Okay. So I took a taxi to go somewhere that was like, I'm not sure how far, and it doesn't show me. So I took a taxi to a place that's like a mile and a half away because I had a lot of stuff with me, so not that far. It was €3.47. Not bad. I took a taxi to Kypseli, to a friend's house the other day, and it was €4.60. Okay, I went to the beach 2 weekends ago, and I took public transportation there, but I didn't like how many people were on public transportation during this whole virus thing, so I decided it wasn't worth it and I would take a taxi back. So I took a taxi from Paleophalia, another place I can't pronounce, to my house. And it's pretty far. It's at least 4 miles, and that was €11.85. So that is probably the most expensive taxi that I've taken. Most of the time it's €4 to €6. I'm kind of scrolling back. Yeah, like €4 to €6. Sometimes a little bit more, but I think some of that has to do with being like in traffic. Obviously right now there isn't much traffic. There's a lot less people driving. So if it's like a busy day, then it might be that you have a bigger charge. The other thing that they've just announced this week, and I'll put a link to the article down if I can find it, down in the box. They've decided to help people that are social distancing while walking to close some of the main streets around xe.gr to traffic. to most traffic. Like, I think like diplomats and government officials and like ambulance services and things, those will still be using them. But it's going to be pedestrian only, which I'm so excited about because like I love walking, and it's, if you've been to Greece, then you know that xe.gr Square is probably the worst place for traffic, and you have to dodge cars. Even when the light is on, you're like, it says I can go, but can I go? Is there someone like coming from this way? So I'm excited about that. And when that does happen at the end of June, I think that's when they're going to start it. I will go down there and see what it's like, and I'll show you. But I'm super excited about that. It's supposed to be for 3 months, so I think for the summer tourist season, and they're saying that if it works well, they may extend it. And then there's this great plan in the works to make this pedestrian-only section permanent, and it would be landscaped like a park. They announced that last week, but of course that's like a long time in the making, but it would be really, really nice, and I think it would make Athens probably a lot more appealing to people. So, if there's any questions about all of this, rent, transportation, bills, and if there's something I haven't talked about that you want to know about, please ask me in the comments below. Maybe there'll be a third video. I'm not sure. There are other things I could talk about, like the cost of, things like makeup and clothing, but I feel like that's pretty subjective because, sorry, not subjective, I feel like that's kind of hard to like gauge because, what I buy for clothing is not what you would buy, and I also don't buy clothes that much. And I could talk about makeup, but of course you may not wear makeup, so you may not care. So if there's something specific you want to know about, let me know, and I will either answer a question or I'll make another video. And again, I'm still taking ideas for videos, and I've gotten some questions, so I'm either going to do like a Q&A video, or I'm going to try to make a video on each question, because right now I'm still not going to be traveling. The year-round hotels are going to open up in June 1st, and the non-year-round hotels will open June 15th. But as of when I looked a couple of days ago, the hotels haven't really started opening up their reservation systems, so I can't make plans. But I am going to go somewhere as soon as I am able and I feel comfortable. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.